Yeah, it's all about the joints, how the legs move, you know, like, speaking of legs, have you seen the latest Avatar movie? Man, the designs there, not just mechs, but everything in general, really great. Speaking of, you guys should check out that crab mech from Avatar. All right, here we are in Photoshop with a little box of me. Usually I don't do this in videos, I leave this for the live stream, but I thought I would just want to share my face in this video. And here we have this really beautiful crab mech design that I really, really love. And I just want to analyze it a little bit. Keep in mind, I am not a professional concept artist. I am just very passionate about this stuff. So whatever I say, take it with a grain or a pinch of salt. Okay, let's take a look at some of these. I collected a couple of pictures. Okay, these two both work. So let's start with, obviously, what is the inspiration? It's a crab. Let me draw a little bit over this one. I'm just gonna add a new layer. I'm gonna take my trusted red and just draw over it. First of it, we have this canopy or the cockpit. And what I like about it here as well, that it is sort of looking almost up a little bit. This gives you the feeling, I have a couple of pictures here, like what you know with crabs, that they are like, hey, what's going on? I'm a crab, right? That's how they usually walk. They have to look up because they're quite flat. So in the design already, they came very close to this looking up. They just give even more of the feeling and of the idea where they got inspired from, just by this small little thing of drawing or designing the cockpit like that. So you sort of have the crab body, this is going to be a thing. And by adding the design of the thing, just bring it a little bit higher, it almost looks like this picture here where the crab is sort of looking up. And I think it's just genius. Also, what I like in general is just breaking the shape. So if we have a nice, and these are nice shapes. So if we look at these are really nice rounded shapes. I always like breaking this up because already this is very cool, but somehow for me the design becomes even cooler if you break this up a little bit somehow. And let me jump into Star Wars just because, you know, guys know I like Star Wars. But you had this really nice cool shape, and by breaking it up with placing the cockpit to the side, placing this little dish there, it just becomes more interesting. And I feel the same thing here through making the cockpit look almost up a little bit. And also, speaking of the cockpit, what I really like is this sort of bent glass. Like you can see, is this really cool bend in it. You don't need to have the steel reinforcement everywhere. You have the steel reinforcement only at a couple of points. So it goes around like that, and the rest is basically, if we would take away the steel reinforcement, we would get like this is sort of the cockpit. These are our steel bars. And the rest is all glass that is bent around, and it's quite useful because it gives you also more view underwater, which is probably needed. The next thing, let's move on to the arms, or in the case of the crab, the clams, I think it's called, which they sort of imitate here with these two things. But something that, again, is ingenious, and I just love it. Look at these things. Like, what are these? These are thumbs that are actually bent back. Here, for example, we can see, I'm going to make layers over everything. These bend not only, from here you would think that these would work like this. So almost like scissors, right? Sure, makes sense. But here you can see that they're bent almost like two fingers. And these things are also bent like this, almost like a thumb. So from here, where you can't even see the thumb, or you don't even realize that that's a thumb, here you can see already that it's like that. And I have prepared a couple of pictures. There's really, I can't find almost any pictures of this crab suit. But something cool, how the crab goes into the water as well, is you have your ship, and almost like some sort of fishing boat, it has a bar here that is a little bit, so if we look from the side, a bar is hanging a little bit over the ship. The crab butt comes here, holds on to this, swings itself into the air, and then plops into the water. And that's also what we see here. And you could feel the weight of the robot as it was holding on. It really, I love the idea of thinking about functionality as well. And this is also where I was talking about these grips come. And I think, wait, I have another picture before I move on. So this is right after it plops into the water. So from this image into the plopping image. And why I brought it into Photoshop, I want you to see, you can see the two fingers here and then the thumb-like finger there. It is quite clear that it has this sort of claw. So just the idea of suggesting like, hey, I'm a crab, I have these crab claws, which is already looks good. And if you just think about it, yeah, for industrial purposes, this is perfect. And it can turn also to something that can grab and just shows the functionality of this mech. Love it. Another thing that I also want you to see is these things, which it's walking on. Again, you can see that it has sort of a V shape here, this one, which sort of tells me that this can open up. And these already look like hookies as well. Oh, Jesus Christ, what language am I talking? So with these, it can also hold on if it needs to hold on. In the movie you also saw when it was underwater, it was sort of hooking into the underwater foliage, whatever it was, some sort of green stuff. So it's just this really nice and smart design that I really like. Back to the arms. There are little holes here. Let me see if we have here. Yeah, exactly. So when it's swimming, of course, it has this propeller. Oh, it has this propeller which pushes it forward, and it retracts its front arms, but also its back arms. Well, its legs. Let me see if I have a picture. So sort of here we can see nicely that this is one leg. And then this would be the other leg. And then we have this front arm also. It's nicely tucked in, aerodynamic, well, underwater dynamic, I guess. But what I also want to talk about is we can see that there is this intake valve. I don't know what's it for, but clearly it's needed. We nicely worked around it. So in the arms, you have that. It's just small details. Of course, it's nothing big, but I just really like the idea. Just, oh yeah, things actually are designed with something in mind. And of course, I miss this in my thing because I just want to start drawing, and I start drawing my blocks, and this is the one arm and this is the other arm. And then only later, because in a video of 30 minutes or to an hour, or even if I make like YouTube videos for myself, when I draw it can take up to half a day, the drawing, or a bit longer. But still, if you want to come up with stuff like this, that's where you need iteration, days, weeks, months, sometimes, to come up with these sort of details that really make the whole thing pop a little bit. And for the movement, and this is what I also liked as well, even though I didn't see too many crabs in water, I mean, maybe I saw a couple in documentaries, it still felt very natural and very animal-like. And I was looking for videos where crabs are swimming underwater, and I found this. Check this out. Look at it. Look how the arms are tucked in the front, hugging its front body. The legs are sort of also tucked in, maybe not the same position, but they sort of a similar position, just to keep it more aerodynamic. And you can see the whole shape. They really took the shape of that carapace of the crab and did a great job imitating it. And they didn't go too far, they didn't copy a crab, but they took all the elements that we can see here as well, and they applied it into their mech here. Sticking with the arms, what you can see here as well, and I'm gonna come back to this one quite often, again, to go with the flow, these underarms or lower arms are bent. They are bent because if they turn all the way around here, we want to go along with this shape. Will I find a better angle? Yeah, so here is the angle. So like we have two arms here. Okay, so think of it this way. So this is the underarm, which is bent, just as we said before. And then this is where the hinge is. And this is where the other hinge is. And then to this arm is connected. And then let me come back here. So this is a nice bend. As you can see here as well, it's quite a bend shape, and this is bent in the opposite direction. So this will fold back there, and this will fold in here. Really, really nice idea. And here I found a video where you can see how the bottom legs of the crab work. Video is from Josh from before. It's a toy review. I'm just gonna leave it a little bit on. I don't want to get copy strike, but you will see how smart this is.
Well, we can see how this crab legs here work. It's pretty ingenious. I was kind of expecting this guy to be maybe less articulated, less fun than the...
So you could see that we have sort of this cylinder and this cylinder. So this can move down there. It's going to look like that. And then that's where your robot leg is. Same thing here is already rotated. So it is very smart and I like this mech very much. And now that I have looked in detail at it, I want to do a quick sketch of it as well. On paper, just because it's a little bit more difficult and I have to pay a bit more attention. So let's see how that works. And before I talk a bit about the sketching process, if you want to see the full almost 50-minute long unedited version of me drawing these sketches with full commentary, head over to my Patreon where you can find this video and other goodies as well. You can find the link in the description down below, together with other ways how you can support me if you want to. The tricky part about drawing this mech are the rounded surfaces. There's a lot of them. I constructed everything starting from a flat plane and different construction boxes to help me with proportions, which was good because early on I realized that I made the main body of the mech too big. The main body part, that would be the carapace of the crab, is doable when it comes to roundedness, but the real issues are with the glass cockpit. I started this one with an ellipse representing a sphere, and I built the rest of the construction around this for the cockpit. It is easier to convey the rounded shapes of the cockpit once you are doing the rendering with the markers. However, in this first mech I used only minor shading with the markers since this was supposed to be only a warm-up sketch. I always like making these warm-up sketches, familiarizing myself with the subject. Doing these smaller, less detailed sketches gives you the opportunity to do more of them. In an hour I can do, I don't know, somewhere between 4 and 6 of these sketches, which means I do the construction 4 or 6 times and the detailing that many times as well. And this really helps me memorizing the details and also the proportions of what I'm drawing. And it's of course not going to be perfect memorization, but it already helps quite a bit. And this time around I did several sketches on my iPad before I started with the video. With my second sketch I wanted to challenge myself and draw from a different angle that I don't really have reference for, and I did struggle with it quite a bit. I did try to make my life a little bit easier by choosing a pretty much frontal view, but now looking back at it, it made the drawing a bit more boring, at least for my taste. But I did manage to convey more of the glass cockpit with the help of markers and the white pens. I did like the end result of that. Anyways, I don't have much more to say here other than I really love this mech and I think that the designers did a great job. And if you haven't seen the movie yet, if for nothing else, just for these mech designs and just production quality in general, it's worth checking out. I hope you enjoyed my video and that you learned something from it. If you have any comments or questions, leave them in the comment section down below and I'll make sure to answer as soon as possible. And with that said, have a great time and see you folks in the next video. Bye bye.